When you observe the world long enough, a simple pattern reveals itself. Most people are driven not by their own will, but by impulses they don't understand and fears they refuse to confront. They talk about ambition as if saying the word transforms them. They talk about discipline as if merely acknowledging it gives them permission to claim they possess it. They talk about dreams as if repeating them endlessly will somehow replace the labor required to achieve them. It's a predictable cycle, one I've seen countless times. People cling to comforting illusions because the alternative is too harsh. To admit you're not working hard enough is painful. To admit you're weaker than you pretend to be is even worse. But truth doesn't bend just because you refuse to face it. And the truth is this: your results reflect your actions, not your fantasies. The reason so many fail to improve is simple. They avoid the discomfort required for growth. They run from silence because silence exposes them. They avoid solitude because solitude forces them to confront their inadequacy. They fear discipline because discipline demands consistency. And consistency removes the excuses they rely on. When you strip away the noise, what remains is the reality they try to ignore, that they are not committed, not focused, and not honest with themselves. It may sound cruel, but cruelty is only perspective. In truth, it's clarity. And clarity is what you need if you actually intend to surpass the version of yourself you claim to be fighting. You don't need loud motivation. You don't need dramatic emotions. You don't need people cheering for you. In fact, relying on any of those things is proof that your foundation is weak. Real discipline doesn't announce itself. Real strength doesn't demand to be seen. Strength built on silence is the only kind that can withstand pressure. When you operate quietly, without constant validation, you force yourself to confront what actually matters. The work, the repetition, the practice, the discomfort, the routine. These are the things that forge someone capable of achieving results, while others remain trapped in the same cycle of excuses. Observe people around you. You'll notice that most of them talk more than they act. They make promises to themselves they never honor. They declare goals they never pursue. They latch onto motivational bursts that evaporate the moment their comfort is threatened. It's almost amusing how loudly they announce their intentions compared to how quietly they abandon them. They don't recognize the contradiction. They don't realize that their own behavior reveals everything they try so desperately to hide. But you don't have the luxury of such delusion, not if you intend to rise above them. The gap between who you are and who you want to become is created by your habits, not your hopes. Every day you spend postponing effort widens that gap. Every distraction you indulge deepens it. Every excuse you construct strengthens it. Time doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Readiness is irrelevant. Action is what matters. And action performed consistently, regardless of emotion, is the difference between those who merely wish and those who achieve. Emotion is a tool, not a master. If you let your mood dictate your discipline, you've already surrendered your potential to something unstable and temporary. People often ask what separates the strong from the weak, as if the answer is mysterious. It's not. The strong do what the weak avoid. The strong tolerate the boredom of routine. They embrace the irritation of repetition. They endure the strain of effort without seeking reward in the moment. They understand that improvement is not thrilling, it's methodical. And because they understand this, They progress while others stagnate. Meanwhile, the weak chase stimulation, novelty, and comfort. They seek shortcuts, and shortcuts only exist to deceive them. They look for ways around the work, so they never have to confront the truth that they are incapable of enduring it. You might consider this harsh, but harshness is often just honesty, presented without sugarcoating. If you feel pressured by these words, it's because a part of you recognizes their accuracy. Pressure is not your enemy. In fact, pressure is one of the most valuable forces in your life. Pressure exposes cracks. It reveals flaws. It forces you to confront weaknesses you've ignored. Weak people avoid pressure because they fear what it will reveal. Strong people appreciate it because it shows them precisely what to fix. In other words, pressure is not something you're suffering from. It's something you should be learning from. You may not realize it, but your environment is constantly shaping you. Surround yourself with people who complain, and you will adopt complaint. Surround yourself with those who indulge laziness, and you will lower your standards until laziness feels normal. Most people prefer these environments because they're easy to dominate. Being the least weak among the weak feels comforting. It's a cheap illusion of superiority. But superiority based on comparison to mediocrity is meaningless. If you want genuine progress, place yourself where you are not the strongest. Seek out competition that challenges you. Put yourself in positions that require growth. Comfort breeds stagnation, but pressure demands evolution. Self-mastery is not a myth reserved for a select few. It's the natural result of consistent discipline. Control your impulses, and you control your direction. Control your attention, and you control your results. Control your emotions, and you control your potential. People underestimate how much improvement is available simply by eliminating the habits that weaken them. Remove distraction. Remove excuses. Remove the need for validation. Remove the craving for comfort. When you strip away these obstacles, what remains is capability. Capability that always existed within you, but was suffocated by everything you allowed to interfere. It's not enough to think about your goals. You must construct systems that force progress even when motivation is absent. Motivation is unstable. Discipline is reliable. Motivation fades with mood. Discipline persists through monotony. Motivation reacts to circumstances. Discipline creates results in spite of them. Rely on motivation, and you'll move only when conditions suit you. Build discipline, and you'll move regardless of conditions. This is why those who appear the calmest often achieve the most. Their actions are not dependent on emotional turbulence. They operate from logic, not impulse. When you look at people who have achieved mastery, you'll notice a common trait. They don't speak loudly about their intentions. Their work speaks for them. They aren't concerned with impressing others along the way, because they understand that impressions are irrelevant. Respect is earned through output, not performance. When you stay silent, you eliminate unnecessary expectations. You remove the pressure to perform for an audience. Your only competition becomes yourself, and that is the only competition that actually matters. You cannot surpass others until you surpass your own weaknesses, insecurities, and lack of discipline. Human beings are far more predictable than they realize. They create patterns in their behavior that reveal their priorities. If someone repeatedly chooses comfort over effort, you can predict their future. If someone repeatedly chooses entertainment over growth, you can forecast their results. If someone repeatedly chooses excuses over action, you can determine their destiny. Patterns don't lie. Intentions don't override habit. If your habits are weak, your results will be weak. If your habits are disciplined, your results will reflect it. You must understand something crucial. You're not competing with the loudest person in the room. You're competing with the quiet ones. The ones who don't broadcast their goals. The ones who don't complain or seek sympathy. The ones who observe silently while everyone else wastes time talking about improvement they never pursue. These silent individuals are the real threat because their focus is uninterrupted. Their energy is directed toward action, not conversation. They understand that discipline is not something you proclaim, it's something you demonstrate. So ask yourself, which type are you becoming? Are you the one who talks about change or the one who embodies it? Are you the one who lists goals or the one who executes them? Are you the one who pretends to work hard or the one who silently cultivates strength without seeking recognition? The distinction might feel subtle, but the consequences are enormous. Your identity is formed through your choices. If your choices align with discipline, then discipline becomes your identity. If your choices align with weakness, then weakness becomes your identity. Every day is an opportunity to choose which one you build. Silence is not emptiness. It's a strategy. It creates the mental space you need to observe yourself objectively. In silence, you can identify what's slowing you down. You can confront your flaws without distraction. You can rebuild your habits from the ground up. People fear silence because silence tells the truth. But truth is the only path to mastery. If you avoid truth, you avoid progress. But if you embrace it, you gain an advantage that most will never experience. Improvement rarely feels good in the moment. It often feels tedious, uncomfortable, and lonely. But discomfort is evidence of progress. It means you are confronting areas where you were previously weak. Those who chase comfort remain stagnant because comfort offers no resistance. And without resistance, there is no growth. So, if you feel discomfort, don't misinterpret it as failure. Recognize it as the friction that shapes you into someone stronger than you were yesterday. Consistency is the multiplier of discipline. A single effort means nothing without repetition. Doing the work once proves nothing. Doing it daily changes everything. Small habits repeated consistently build a foundation that cannot be easily shaken. Most people quit because they expect rapid results. They become discouraged when progress is invisible. But progress is rarely visible in the beginning. It accumulates silently beneath the surface until it becomes impossible to ignore. Those who endure the invisible phase are the ones who eventually stand far above those who quit early. When you understand this, you stop looking for quick victories. You stop searching for shortcuts. You realize that long-term dominance is built through quiet effort, compounded over time. You recognize that the world rewards those who can delay gratification, endure discomfort, and act without applause. Those who possess these qualities are the ones who rise unnoticed until the moment their results make them undeniable. You don't need to announce your transformation. You don't need to prove your effort to anyone. Those who demand external proof are already giving too much power to the opinions of others. The moment you begin caring more about being perceived as disciplined than actually being disciplined, you've lost. Your focus must remain internal. Your standards must be self-generated. Your accountability must come from within. External validation is temporary. Internal discipline is permanent. In the end, the most important lesson is this: the world will not slow down for you. It will not wait for you to feel ready. It will not give you permission to start. The world moves forward without hesitation, and if you fail to move with it, you will be left behind. The only way to avoid that fate is to take control of your actions with a level of discipline others cannot match. Don't announce your intentions. Don't seek applause. Don't look for shortcuts. Simply work, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Because while others waste time talking, you will be creating results. While they search for motivation, you will be building discipline. While they seek comfort, you will be forging strength. And when the difference becomes undeniable, when your silence has produced results louder than their words, they will wonder how you surpassed them. But by then, it will be too late for them to catch up. Because progress built on silence doesn't just elevate you, it separates you. That separation is not accidental. It is earned, quietly, methodically, relentlessly. And if you choose that path, not because it feels good, but because it produces results, then you will no longer need to say anything at all. Your discipline will speak for you. Your improvement will speak for you. Your results will speak for you. And the world will have no choice but to listen.
You want to know the difference between passion and obsession, right? Good. Because most people can't even tell them apart. They think passion is enough. They think firing themselves up for a few minutes or feeling inspired after some uplifting video makes them worthy of chasing greatness. They think the spark they feel is proof they're special. But that spark, it dies every time. Because passion is fragile. It's soft. It's the kind of thing people can cheer for without feeling threatened. Passion keeps you liked, accepted, safe. Obsession destroys all of that. Obsession doesn't care if you're liked. Obsession doesn't care if your schedule collapses. Obsession doesn't care if people whisper behind your back, call you delusional, say you're doing too much. Obsession is a predator, and predators never apologize for hunting. You want to be the best? Then stop worshiping passion and start feeding obsession. When I step into my own mind, I don't see passion. I see angles, equations, possibilities, threats, openings. I see a world made of choices, each one narrowing into a single path forward. I see my ego at the center of it all, cold and sharp. And that consciousness, that metavision-like clarity, isn't something passion ever gave me. It was born from obsession, shaped by it, hardened by it. Passion is the crowd cheering. Obsession is the silence when the field is empty and no one believes in you but you. Most people don't understand what it means to evolve under pressure. They avoid pressure. They crumble under it. They look for comfort, validation, hand-holding, reassurance. They want someone to tell them they're doing well, even when they're stagnant. But transformation doesn't happen where it's comfortable. The evolution of your true ego happens in the places where you have to devour your own limits or be devoured by them. That's the difference. Passion gives you a warm feeling. Obsession demands blood. You say you want greatness. Good. Then ask yourself something brutal. How far are you willing to go before you break? And after you break, how many times are you willing to rebuild yourself from the shards? Because obsession does that. It shatters you again and again. It asks for your sleep, your comfort, your relationships, your identity. It asks you to stand alone and be okay with the loneliness that comes with being extraordinary. Passion wants you to feel good. Obsession wants you to become dangerous. When I think about what drives me, I don't picture crowds or trophies or celebrations. Those are aftermaths, not motives. What drives me is that gnawing hunger in the center of my chest. The hunger to devour anyone standing between me and the peak. The hunger to prove, not to others, but to myself, that I'm evolving faster, thinking sharper, adapting sooner than anyone else alive. That hunger isn't passion, it's obsession. And obsession has one rule: become undeniable. You see, passion can be satisfied. You can feed passion and it settles down. But obsession doesn't settle. It escalates. You meet one goal and it immediately demands the next. You evolve once and it demands you evolve again. You create one breakthrough and it pushes you toward the next impossible barrier like it was inevitable. Because when you're obsessed, it is inevitable. People think obsession is unhealthy. And maybe it is. But so is mediocrity. So is living a life where you never even touch the edges of your potential. So is silencing the voice inside you that knows you were meant for more and burying it under comfort until it dies. Passion is socially acceptable. Obsession is feared. And that's exactly why obsession is the only path to the top. There's a moment when you're pushing through the noise where your mind sharpens into something new. It feels like unlocking a hidden layer of awareness. Like suddenly, you're not reacting to the world. You're predicting it, manipulating it, sculpting it. You see possibilities other people miss. You track the movements of your rivals not as threats, but as patterns waiting to be broken. You read yourself like a map, adjusting your flaws in real time. It feels like stepping into a higher version of yourself. People have different names for that moment. Flow, awakening, vision. But for me, it's the ego taking the wheel. And that ego doesn't hesitate. It doesn't doubt. It doesn't wait for someone else to give permission. It simply acts, adapts, and devours. You want that feeling? Then you need obsession. Passion can't get you there. Passion stops when it's tired. Obsession keeps going even when everything hurts. Passion follows a plan. Obsession rewrites the plan mid-action. Passion plays to express itself. Obsession plays to win. When you're obsessed, every second is data. Every failure is intel. Every setback is fuel. And every rival you face becomes a chemical reaction designed to evolve you. You collide with them, clash with them, absorb them, devour the parts that make them strong, and integrate it all into yourself. You become a composite of every battle you've survived. You don't just improve, you mutate. Passion can't mutate. Obsession can. Look at your dream right now. Really look at it. Strip away the fantasy of accomplishment, the applause, the pride. Ignore the highlights. Ignore the end result. Focus on the process. The ugly, grinding, repetitive, lonely work. The part that feels endless. The part that no one praises. The part that breaks most people. If that process doesn't make your heart beat faster, you're not obsessed. You're just passionate. Obsession loves the process more than the outcome. Obsession eats monotony for breakfast. Obsession thrives in the hours where it's just you against your limits, pushing until something inside you snaps and reforms into something harder. When you're obsessed, you don't ask, how long will this take? You ask, how far can I go before my body gives out? You don't ask, can I do this? You declare, I will devour anyone who thinks I can't. You don't ask for respect, you take it. That's the mindset difference. That's the ego difference. Passion wants to feel good. Obsession wants to dominate. But here's the part most people won't tell you. Obsession is lonely. Completely, brutally lonely. You'll lose people along the way. Friends, relationships, approval, all of it. Because the higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. And people don't follow you into thin air. They stay in the comfort zone, where breathing is easy and expectations are low. You, on the other hand, learn how to breathe in places that suffocate everyone else. And that's when you'll understand the truth. Obsession isolates you, so you can evolve unconstrained. When you walk this path, you'll notice something. You stop comparing yourself to people around you. Instead, you start analyzing them, dissecting them, reading their patterns like a strategist mapping enemy movements. You start seeing where they're weak, where you're strong, and how you can leverage every inch to gain an edge. Your mind becomes a battlefield, always calculating, always analyzing, always refining. That's the ego at work. That's metavision in metaphor. Not just seeing the field, seeing the entire game. The hidden lines, the potential futures, the micro moments that shape outcomes. Seeing yourself as the axis everything revolves around. But none of this happens with passion alone. Passion sparks. Obsession sustains. Passion fades. Obsession evolves. Passion inspires. Obsession transforms. Ask yourself this: are you willing to be hated for your dream? Truly hated? Are you willing to have people twist your intentions, call you selfish, arrogant, delusional, obsessed? Because that's what they do when someone refuses to stay small. Obsession threatens people. It forces them to confront their own lack of conviction. It exposes the parts of them that settled, that quit, that gave up. And instead of facing those parts, they attack you. Let them. The world needs passion. It uses passion to keep people comfortable. But the world fears obsession, because obsession creates outliers. The ones who break records, redefine standards, and destroy expectations. If you're chasing greatness, you're not trying to be normal. Stop looking for approval from people who fear the heights you're running toward. When I talk about devouring, I'm not talking about defeating others just for the sake of it. I'm talking about assimilation, adaptation, absorbing what you encounter until you become the kind of person who cannot be denied. I devour to evolve. I devour to surpass myself. I devour because every confrontation is a catalyst. That's what obsession demands, constant evolution. Do you know what evolution really is? It's not just growth. It's not just progress. It's destruction. Something in you must die for something stronger to emerge. A belief, a habit, a fear, a weakness. You kill it off, and in its place, you build an advantage. Passion won't kill your weaknesses. Passion will coexist with them. Obsession executes them. In every moment of your life, you have two voices in your head. One says, "This is good enough." The other says, "Devour this limit and go further." Passion listens to the first voice. Obsession listens to the second. And if you want to rise, truly rise, you need to silence the first voice permanently. Let me tell you something harsh. Greatness is not a dream. Greatness is a number, a measurement, a result. You don't get greatness by feeling inspired. You get greatness by outperforming every competitor in front of you, one by one. That's the truth people avoid, because passion lets them pretend truth is optional. Obsession doesn't pretend. Obsession demands proof. You say you want to be the best? Then start thinking like someone who can be the best. Start acting like someone who expects to win. Start training like someone who knows the world won't hand them anything. Start analyzing your flaws like a strategist preparing for war. Start viewing your rivals not with envy, but with hunger. Every time you see someone better than you, your response should not be jealousy. Your response should be excitement. Because that person is raw material. Another chemical reaction waiting to evolve you. Another pattern for your ego to dissect. Another limit for you to devour. Obsession turns rivalry into fuel. Your future self is waiting for you at the peak. Passion will never get you there. Passion whispers encouragement. Obsession drags you by the throat until you become unrecognizable. And when you finally reach that level, when you start feeling your mind sharpen, when your instincts heighten, when your awareness expands and you start predicting outcomes before they happen, that's when you'll understand why obsession is the only path. Because the best aren't passionate, they're possessed. And now it's your turn. If you're going to chase your dream, then chase it with a hunger that never shuts up, with a mind that never stops analyzing, with an ego that refuses to shrink, with a vision that cuts through the chaos. Activate your metavision, sharpen your awareness, study your rivals, devour their strengths, erase your weaknesses. Become the one variable no one can predict or control. Feed your ego, push your evolution. Step into the loneliness of obsession and embrace it like oxygen. This is your formula. This is how you evolve. This is how you devour the world. Now, go. Awaken your ego, sharpen your metavision, and get obsessed, violently obsessed with your dream. Nothing less deserves to survive.
You don't like hearing that, do you? Of course you don't. Because accepting it would mean you lose your favorite excuse, blaming the world. You tell yourself you're capable of more, but capability that never moves is just imagination. You wake up every day with the same habits, the same hesitation, the same silent fear, and then you wonder why nothing changes. I'll tell you why. You choose comfort the way weak people choose religion. Blindly, desperately, and without proof. You say you want control, but the moment control demands sacrifice, you retreat. You call it patience. I call it cowardice. You're not unlucky. You're not misunderstood. You are simply unwilling to do what others won't see you doing. And until that changes, this is your ceiling. Memorize that feeling. This frustration, this pressure in your chest, that's reality correcting your delusions. You keep pretending you're waiting for the right moment. Let me dismantle that lie right now. The right moment never arrives for people like you because you confuse preparation with avoidance. You overthink because thinking feels productive without risking failure. You plan because planning gives you the illusion of movement. But when it's time to act, you freeze. And you know why? Because action exposes the truth. It shows whether you're actually built for this or just good at fantasizing about it. Deep down, you're terrified that if you go all in and still fail, you'll have nothing left to protect your ego. So you stall, you scroll, you distract yourself. You waste days and then blame exhaustion. You are not tired. You are undisciplined. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. You crave respect, yet your daily behavior begs to be ignored. You want to be taken seriously, yet you negotiate with yourself every time something gets hard. Strong people don't argue with their weakness. They eliminate it. But you entertain it. You give it excuses. You let it speak. And then you wonder why your mind feels noisy and unstable. You are not battling the world. You are battling your own lack of structure. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your mind that your words are worthless. And once your own mind stops believing you, why should anyone else? You don't need confidence. Confidence is a side effect. What you lack is authority over yourself. Look at your results. Don't flinch, don't explain, don't justify. Results don't lie. They never do. Your output is a perfect reflection of your standards, not your intentions, not your potential, your standards. You tolerate distractions, so you get mediocrity. You tolerate inconsistency, so you get instability. You tolerate weakness, so weakness becomes your identity. And the most dangerous part? You've gotten used to it. You've normalized underperforming because it hurts less than admitting you're wasting your life. But denial doesn't pause time. Every day you delay, someone else replaces you, quieter, sharper, hungrier. The world doesn't wait for self-pity to resolve itself. You think people are ahead of you because they're lucky. That's a convenient fantasy. Luck is what weak minds use to avoid acknowledging effort they're unwilling to give. What you call luck is obsession, sacrifice, repetition, pain done in silence. While you were seeking balance, they were building dominance. While you were protecting your feelings, they were sharpening their edge. And now you look up and call it unfair. It isn't. It's mathematical. Input equals output. You simply don't like the equation because it exposes you. You want results without transformation, power without pressure. That's not how this works. You keep waiting for motivation like it's going to save you. That's childish. Motivation is a chemical reaction, not a strategy. It fades. It lies. It abandons you the moment resistance appears. The ones who dominate don't rely on feeling ready. They move because movement is non-negotiable. You think discipline is cruel. It isn't. It's honest. It tells you exactly where you stand every single day. And right now, discipline would expose how soft you've become. That's why you avoid it. Because deep down, you know, if you stripped away distractions, comfort, and excuses, there wouldn't be much left. That realization scares you more than failure ever could. Let me be clear. No one is coming to save you. No speech, no video, no person, no moment. If something is going to change, it will be because you decided that staying the same is no longer acceptable. And that decision isn't emotional. It's cold. It's calculated. It's ruthless. You don't rise by hoping. You rise by eliminating the version of yourself that keeps choosing the easy way out. That version is comfortable, familiar, and completely useless for what you claim you want. If you're not willing to abandon him, then stop pretending you're meant for more. This is the final truth, and I won't repeat it gently. Your life will only change when your standards do. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. The moment you stop negotiating with weakness. The moment you act without asking permission from fear. The moment you accept that pain is the price of control, not a sign to quit. Until then, stay exactly where you are. Because this place, this frustration, this regret, this quiet dissatisfaction is not punishment. It's accuracy. And whether you remain here or rise beyond it is no longer a mystery. It's a decision. You thought acknowledging that would be the hardest part. It wasn't. The hardest part is realizing that knowing the truth doesn't automatically change you. Awareness without action is just another form of self-deception, and you're already an expert at that. You've heard words like these before. You nodded, you felt something, and then you went back to the same patterns. That's why this isn't about inspiration. This is about exposure. I'm holding a mirror in front of you, and you're uncomfortable because there's nowhere left to hide. You don't lack information, you lack execution, and the gap between the two is where your potential rots. You keep telling yourself you'll change when the pressure gets higher. That's another lie. Pressure doesn't create strength, it reveals it. And when pressure has shown up in your life, you folded. You escaped into distractions. You numbed yourself. You ran from discomfort instead of using it. That's why your tolerance for pain is so low. You've trained yourself to quit the moment things feel heavy. You want intensity without endurance. You want progress without friction. That contradiction is the reason you're stuck. Until you learn to stay functional under discomfort, you will always be replaceable. You say you want control, but your emotions run your schedule. One bad mood and your discipline collapses. One inconvenience and your standards drop. That's not humanity. That's weakness disguised as sensitivity. The strongest people aren't emotionless. They're selective. They don't let temporary feelings dictate permanent outcomes. You, on the other hand, let your mind sabotage you daily and call it being real. Reality doesn't care about your inner chaos. It rewards consistency. And consistency doesn't come from feeling good. It comes from obedience to a decision you refuse to break. You want to be feared, respected, untouchable? Then stop seeking validation. The moment you crave approval, you give away leverage. You dilute yourself to be accepted. You soften your edges so you don't offend. And in doing so, you become forgettable. Dominance isn't loud. It's undeniable. It's built in silence while others announce their intentions. You talk too much about what you'll do and not enough time doing it. Silence would expose how empty your words are, and that's why you avoid it. Every night, you lie to yourself before sleeping. You say, tomorrow will be different. It won't be, unless tonight you decide to become someone else. Not a better version, a different one. The version of you that needs comfort, reassurance, and motivation cannot coexist with the version that wins. One of them has to die. You keep trying to balance both, and that's why you're losing. Progress demands cruelty toward your old habits. Mercy is reserved for those who can afford stagnation. You cannot. You're not overwhelmed. You're unfocused. Your energy is scattered because you refuse to prioritize. Everything feels important, so nothing moves. The moment you choose one direction and cut everything else, clarity appears. But clarity terrifies you, because once the path is clear, failure has nowhere to hide. You'll know exactly why you didn't make it, and it won't be circumstances. It will be you. That level of accountability is rare. That's why most people stay average. It's safer there. You think this is harsh? It is. Because softness hasn't worked on you. Comfort hasn't worked. Encouragement hasn't worked. You don't need kindness. You need precision. You need to be cut down to what actually matters. Your time is limited, whether you respect it or not. And every day you waste convincing yourself you're figuring things out is a day you'll never get back. The world won't remember your intentions. It will only measure what you produce. So decide, not emotionally, not dramatically. Decide with cold clarity. Either continue exactly as you are and accept everything that comes with it, the mediocrity, the regret, the quiet resentment, or remove the version of yourself that keeps you here. There is no third option, no compromise, no in-between. The moment you understand that, something changes. Not around you, inside you. And from there, everything else becomes a matter of execution. By now, you should understand something uncomfortable. This isn't about becoming powerful. It's about removing everything that makes you weak. Power isn't added. It's revealed once the excess is burned away. And you've been carrying excess your entire life. Excess emotions, excess excuses, excess attachment to how things should feel. You cling to comfort like it's oxygen, then wonder why you feel suffocated. Strength requires space. Space is created by cutting. And you've avoided cutting because you're sentimental about versions of yourself that have never delivered results. You keep measuring yourself against others, hoping it will either comfort you or motivate you. It does neither. Comparison only exposes what you lack the discipline to confront alone. You don't need rivals. You need standards. Standards that don't bend when you're tired. Standards that don't negotiate when you're emotional. Right now, your standards collapse the moment resistance appears. That's not adaptability. That's fragility. And fragile people don't survive environments that reward pressure. They complain about them. You think suffering is something to escape. That belief alone guarantees you'll never surpass your limits. Pain isn't the enemy. Uncontrolled pain is. Directed pain builds structure. Avoided pain builds fear. Every time you choose the easier option, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle more. And beliefs shape behavior. That's why you hesitate. That's why you doubt. You trained yourself to be this way, which means, whether you like it or not, you can train yourself out of it. But only if you stop lying to yourself about what that requires. You want clarity? Here it is. Your emotions are irrelevant to your objectives. They can exist, but they do not get a vote. The moment you let feelings decide your actions, you surrender control. And control, once surrendered, is difficult to reclaim. You've been living reactively, responding to moods, circumstances, people. That's not living. That's drifting. The ones who dominate don't drift. They impose direction, even when uncertain, even when afraid, especially when uncomfortable. You mistake intensity for progress. Getting angry, getting hyped, feeling driven for a moment. That's noise. Real change is quiet, boring, repetitive. It doesn't feel heroic. It feels isolating. That's why most people quit. There's no applause in consistency, no recognition in discipline, just results, eventually. And you've always been impatient. You want evidence before commitment. But commitment comes first. Evidence follows. This reversal is where most people fail, including you. Until now, if you choose differently. You say you don't know where to start. That's another excuse. You know exactly what you've been avoiding. The difficult task, the uncomfortable decision, the habit that would expose your lack of self-control. Start there. Always start where resistance is highest. That's where leverage is. Avoidance feels safe, but it compounds weakness. Confrontation hurts once, then builds immunity. You decide which pain you want to live with. Because pain is unavoidable, only its direction is optional. You don't need to announce this shift. Don't tell anyone you're changing. Don't seek acknowledgement. Silence is strategic. Move differently. Act consistently. Let confusion replace explanation. Let results replace promises. The moment you stop talking about who you're going to become, you gain time and energy to actually become it. And most people won't notice at first. That's good. Transformation is strongest when it's underestimated. This is where it narrows. No drama, no emotion, just a line drawn. Either you continue being managed by impulses, distractions, and comfort, or you become someone who operates regardless of them. Both paths are valid, but only one aligns with what you claim to want. Choose quietly, execute relentlessly, and understand this: the moment you stop betraying yourself, everything changes. Not because the world became easier, but because you became difficult to break.
Listen to yourself for a second. The pressure you feel in your chest, the irritation that won't go away, that isn't fear. That's your ego reacting to being suppressed. You feel it because you know you're holding back. You feel it because comfort has become your excuse. If you were meant to stay average, this frustration wouldn't exist. Understand this clearly. No one is coming for you. There is no perfect moment, no signal that it's finally your turn. While you hesitate, someone else is already moving. Not because they're better, but because they decided to choose themselves without permission. That's the difference. You don't lose because you lack talent. You lose because you hesitate to fully commit to your own vision. Every time you try to be liked, every time you dilute your ambition, you betray the version of yourself that could dominate the field. And the world doesn't forgive hesitation. It exploits it. If you want everyone to like you, you'll never be dangerous. The moment you decide to win for yourself, someone will call you selfish. Let them. The moment you prioritize results over approval, people will say you've changed. That's proof you're evolving. You're not lost. You're uncommitted. You know exactly what you want, and that's why you're scared. Commitment means no escape route, no excuses, no backup identity. But half effort guarantees mediocrity. Full commitment gives you a chance to become something overwhelming. Talent means nothing without intent. Talent without cruelty is decoration. The players you envy didn't ask if they deserved it. They decided they would take it. That's the line. Cross it or stay where you are and quietly disappear. Look at the truth you avoid. You are the problem. And that's your power. If you're the cause of your failures, then you're also the one who can fix them. Stop chasing fairness. Results are the only currency that matters. Effort doesn't guarantee victory. Execution does. Precision does. Your ego isn't the enemy. Fear is. Ego is belief sharpened by action. Fear tells you to wait, to blend in, to play safe. One creates legends. The other creates spectators. There is no neutral state. Every moment you're either expanding or shrinking. Every decision trains the world how to treat you. You don't need confidence. You need proof. Proof is built under pressure. proof is surviving moments that were supposed to break you. That's how ego evolves from asking for permission to issuing commands. Loneliness is the cost of being ahead. If the path gets quiet, don't mistake that for failure. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to force the environment to adapt to you. Your past failures aren't chains, they're weapons. Use them. Forget motivation. Hunger is what matters. Stop dreaming about who you could be. Dreaming is safe. Becoming is violent. You're not special until you prove it. Potential means nothing without execution. Pressure doesn't change you, it reveals you. When others panic, you calculate. When others hesitate, you strike. Control your mind, or it will sabotage you. You don't deserve peace yet. Right now, you need friction. In the end, this is a one-person battle, you and your standard. So decide. Not to be liked. Not to be accepted. Decide to be unavoidable. This is your ego speaking. And it's done waiting. You exist to win. Not to be liked. Not to be understood. Not to be tolerated. You exist to dominate, and everything that doesn't bend to your will is irrelevant. Look at yourself. Feel that fire, that pressure, that irritation behind your eyes. That is your ego screaming every hesitation, every soft choice, every moment you play small. Every one of them is a betrayal to the power you were born to wield. Comfort is your enemy. Excuses are for the weak, and you are not weak. You were never meant to survive. You were meant to conquer. The world doesn't wait. No one owes you a chance while you hesitate. Someone else has already taken what should be yours. Not because they are stronger, but because they chose themselves over safety. Because they refuse to apologize for ambition. You don't lose because you lack skill. You lose because you refuse to go all in. Every diluted decision, every softened goal, every half-hearted attempt, it is a crime against your potential, and your ego knows it. Fear is the only thing standing in your way. Your ego is not arrogance. It is belief sharpened into action. It is the voice that says, I will take it, I will dominate, I will make inevitable what others call impossible. That voice is the only one that matters. Everything else is noise. You will be hated. You will be opposed. Good. Let them try. Respect and fear are never given. They are seized. They are earned by being untouchable, by being unstoppable, by being inevitable. Half measures of death. Mediocrity is your enemy. Only obsession makes you untouchable. Only relentless action makes you unavoidable. Talent is meaningless without intent. Skill without cruelty is decoration. Permission is irrelevant. It is seized. Every failure, every mistake, every setback you endured is fuel. Weaponize it, use it ruthlessly. Pain only matters if it makes you stronger. Hunger drives dominance, motivation fades. Hunger never does. Hunger doesn't care about excuses, it makes execution mandatory. Stop dreaming. Becoming is violent. Sacrifice is compulsory. Obsession is your fuel. Nothing will bend for you. You must bend the world to your will. You are not special until you prove it. Potential is meaningless. Execution under pressure is everything. Every move you make, every decision you commit to, every second you refuse to flinch. It is shaping the version of you that cannot be denied. Decide to be unavoidable. Not to be liked, not to be accepted, not to be tolerated. The moment you enter a space, the rules change. Resistance becomes irrelevant. Opposition becomes meaningless. The world adapts, or it falls behind you. That is power. That is dominance. That is inevitability. This is your ego speaking. And it is done waiting. There is no mercy for hesitation. There is no room for doubt. Everything you have endured, every ounce of fire in your chest, every scar, every failure, it all exists for this moment. Step forward. Choose yourself, fully dominate. Be unavoidable.